Who is the judge? What measure are we going to be judged according to? Will it be according to our own good deeds? No, we will be judged by what we confess. Whether we confess the character of Yahweh Elohim, which is his logos, which is the same character his son possessed, or not. We read in Revelation 19, "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he does judge and make war. In his eyes was a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written, which no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Elohim," or the Logos of Elohim. I think most all understand that this verse is talking about Yeshua when he returns. The world is going to be judged, and it is going to be righteous judgment. But what is going to be the standard that we'll be measured by? There has to be a measuring rod. Most often, what one person says or thinks is right from wrong does not agree with what another person says or thinks. Can our modern day judges in the courts agree consistently about what is right or wrong? They merely rely on interpretations and judgments made by others in the past, and occasionally turn one of these past rulings over, changing with the times, or manipulate one of the rulings to fit what they want the judgment of the situation to be. You hear statements like, "Oh, if I had only had that judge, I would have been acquitted." The standard of righteousness that is in place today is far from the righteousness of Elohim that man is going to be judged by. I will give you an example. If you tell someone out of love today that they need to hearken unto the instructions of their Creator, they will often deem you as being judgmental and speak all sorts of slanderous things to you or behind your back. They, in fact, become the judge themselves by judging or deciding that you are judgmental. This applies to almost any discussion as to what our Creator says is right or wrong. And for instance, an example here with the Sabbath. In the following illustration, person A has the truth and is obeying his or her Creator's instruction. The fruit that proves this is the Logos of Elohim is being manifested in their life. Person A shares with person B that we are commanded by our Creator to set apart the Sabbath and to sanctify it and to make it holy. He or she is speaking the truth and is branded as being judgmental by person B. Let's take a step further. Maybe person B is saying that he or she is keeping the Sabbath based on their own understanding as to when the Sabbath is, rejecting what Scripture says about how to keep it or when to keep it. Person B responds to person A, "You are judging me. I do keep the Sabbath. You are so judgmental and it's not even funny. The love of Jesus is not in you, and Satan is having his way with you." Let's analyze this. Person A knows what the Scripture teaches about when the Sabbath is. The only way this is possible is because person A believes their Elohim's word. Person A loves person B enough to share the truth with them for several reasons. One of which is he or she is commanded to speak the truth and to warn others of the consequences of their rebelliousness and their choices. The result, person B judges person A 3 times alone in this one sentence reply. Here's the reply again. "You are judging me. I do keep the Sabbath. You are so judgmental it's not even funny. The love of Jesus is not in you, and Satan is having his way with you." Number one, person B is judging person A as being judgmental. Person B is judging person A that they do not possess the love of the Messiah. And person B is making the judgment that person A is being led by Satan. Is this possible? Can we be so far removed from our Creator's righteousness that a conversation like this can take place? I can assure you it is commonplace today. What did person A say to person B in the first place that caused person B to feel that he or she was being judged? All that person A said was that what our Creator says about when his Sabbaths are to be kept, or maybe how they're to be kept. And then just speaking of one commandment of many. But the reason that person B felt judged is there is a judge, and it is the word of Elohim. In Jeremiah 23, "Is not my word like a fire, says Yahweh, and like a hammer that breaks the rock into pieces?" And then Yeshua comes along too, and he says, "I did not come to bring peace, but to bring a sword." He came and he magnified the law and warned people that they would be judged by the rejection of the character of Elohim that living his word would have built in them. Person A spoke the truth, not what they thought it was, but rather the truth from the word of Yahweh Elohim. And person B deemed that as judgmental and judged Elohim's servant, and actually judged Elohim and judged his word. It is amazing how stiff-necked we can be. This stiff-necked, self-righteous way of man is exactly why the coming destruction is necessary. Do you want to know who the judge is or what the measuring rod is? Let's look a little closer at what Yeshua told us about what is going to be judged. In Matthew 12, but I say unto you that every idle word, and this is Strong's number 4487, that men shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. For by your words, this is a different word, Strong's number 3056, it's logos, you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned. Strong's number 4487 is the Greek word rhema. It means what our saying or our spoken word or what was said or witnessed. Strong's number 3056 is the Greek word logos. It is the very thought process that we live by. It is what defines our character. The fruit of our character is our logos. Our character is an extension of what we believe. If our logos is based on living a lie, we simply have a different character than our Creator does, and we cannot hear or see the truth because it's shut off from us, because we've rejected the eyes to see in His protection. We are told that Yeshua became the Logos of Elohim. He became an extension of His Father's character. They were one and in total agreement. Yeshua is saying here that we are going to have to give an account of every spoken word, even every idle word, which means inactive word, which certainly would include our thoughts or our careless speech. He goes on to say that we will either be justified or condemned by our character. If our character is not in agreement with the character of our Creator, we will be condemned by it. Is the character that will justify us based on what we think right or wrong is? In John chapter 12, if any man hear my words, my sayings, and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. This is the first time he was here. He that rejects me and receives not my sayings has one that judges him, though. The word, the logos that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day. For I have not spoken of myself, but the Father which sent me. He gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. Pay close attention here. Your Messiah is saying that if you reject His sayings, He is not judging you. But you will be judged. By what will you be judged? The logos that He has spoken. The same shall judge you in the last day, He says. Did He not speak that we should keep the commandments? Let's look in John chapters 13 to 17, the night before. I like to refer to those because the night before He was killed. I mean, how many times He admonished the disciples, keep the commandments. He also goes on to add that His speech is not His own. He was given what to say from His Father because they were in total agreement. Back to person A. He or she spoke the word of Elohim, the truth. He or she did not judge person B. Person B merely rejected the truth and passed their judgment back on person A. The problem with that is person B does not have the authority to make that judgment call. No, the Logos is the authority, and person B rejected the Logos. We are told that the Logos of Elohim is truth. It is light. Children of darkness cannot bear the light. They resist the truth. Person B will be judged by the word or the Logos of Elohim. This is the standard or the measuring rod that the coming judgment will be based on. In John chapter 8, Yeshua says, you judge, and this is the Greek word krino, after the flesh. I judge no man. For yet if I do judge, my judgment, that's a new Greek word, crisis, is true, because I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. He is saying here that their judgment was based on what they had determined was right from wrong, and He does not judge this way. When He made a judgment, His judgment was true. Why? Because He was not alone. His Father was in Him. His Father's character is His Logos, and He became that Logos. It is what the written word was put in place to teach us with the help of His Spirit guiding us. Person B was judging after the flesh, a hypocrite and a snake. Was I just judgmental to say that? Yeshua and John the Baptist certainly did not have a problem with calling them what they were. Why not? Because their judgment was not based on the reasoning of man. The Logos of Elohim testifies to the truth of who the liars and hypocrites are. In Matthew 7 we read, "Judge not, that you be not judged. For what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure, you will be measured." This is a powerful warning that Yeshua is giving his disciples. One thing that he did not say here is for them to not use crisis type of judgment. I have discussed this word in other segments. It is that judgment which is divine judgment, often referring to final judgment. Yeshua is discussing chrono type of, the Greek word for that, chrono type of judgment here, telling us not to judge after the flesh with what we think is right or wrong, because we will be judged according to our hypocrisy if we have it in us. He goes on to add that we need to make sure that the beam is out of our eye before we try to remove a sliver from someone else's eye. We are to let the word define crisis type of judgment. The word is truth. It teaches us the Logos of Elohim. It teaches us his character, and we need his spirit to even be able to discern the word. Let's look at a verse where Yeshua uses the word crisis. In Matthew 23, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, but have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment," crisis judgment, "mercy and faith. These ought you have done, and not left the other undone." I have done a segment where I discussed this verse in more detail, so I won't go into all that detail again today. I just want to point out that Yeshua is strongly admonishing the religious of the day because they had omitted this type of judgment. The judgment that is based on right from wrong according to what our Creator's word says. It is a weightier matter of the law because people will be condemned for rejecting it. Crisis judgment is coming. The measuring rod is the word of Yahweh Elohim. Prepare for his return. Make straight your path and stop omitting this weightier matters of law, as well as mercy. And look up that word too. It's not what the world would think it is. And faith. And certainly the world has perverted what faith is as well. Turn to his laws that will teach you his logos. Cry out that he will fill your lamp with the oil that comes from possessing his seven spirits, that you might be given eyes to see and ears to hear. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim sent forth into all of the earth.